day after the inauguration of many administrations when it comes to states and then the federal government as well. Now we have in the studio joining us to do justice to some of these lecturer at the University of Lagos, Dr. Danikere, in the studio, and I have also social commentator Olakomi Amonidundu. Good morning.
Good morning.
It's nice to see you, gentlemen.
Thank you. Good morning.
And happy inauguration, happy new dawn. You know, it's in Nigeria, we have happy everything.
Yeah, there's a greeting for everything.
Exactly, there's greeting for everything. All right, let's begin with this day. Muhammadu Buhari sworn in for second term with high hopes. And 29 governors take oath of office in low-key ceremonies, and 91 world leaders to attend June 12 Democracy Day event. Right, that's this day. Now, we go to Vanguard now. Inauguration, Buhari mom as governors reel out promises. Oyo can't pay 30,000 naira minimum wage now. Makinde is saying that. Biodun vows to tackle unemployment in Ogun. And I'll fulfill campaign promises, Sanwo-Olu says in Lagos. And Rufai extends maternity leave to 6 months in Kaduna. And I'll build a stronger Delta, Okwoche is saying that. Promises from the governors in the new administration. Let's go to the blueprint now. That's where we go next. Nigerians to Buhari, fix security, power, and unemployment. That is what Nigerians are telling the president on the blueprint newspaper. And go on Grace's inauguration, OBJ, JEG, others absent. That's Obasanjo, former President Obasanjo, and Goodluck Jonathan. Don't back out on local government autonomy, Noge tells president. We're still on the blueprint. Increased revenue base, experts are saying that to the president. Implement minimum wage as well. And then president taking us out of economic paralysis. Bulama is saying that. All that you can find on the front page of the blueprint. Let's go now to the Daily Sun. Buhari stuns all with no speech inauguration. That's what you find on the front page of the Daily Sun. Takes oath of office without usual acceptance speech. And president expected to speak on June 12. And now APC overburdened by guilt. That's the PDP is saying that, the opposition. Okay. Gentlemen, I wonder what you make of the record-breaking outcome of the inauguration yesterday, where the president did not give an inaugural speech. It's the first of its kind in the history of Nigeria. And some analysts between yesterday and now say, well, it's not a good or bad situation, they say. But others said, no, Nigerians are supposed to know what the new dispensation will be like so they can hold the government to account. What do you see, Olakomi? Let me start with you.
Well, good morning, everybody, once again. I would say expectations are high. And people expect that the president will set an agenda yesterday with regards to what people should see. But don't forget, it's also a general. It might be a strategy. Disruption is part of the strategy. So I will say this, that I agree with analysts that say it's neither good or bad. Let's look at what June 12 will hold. Primarily because, don't forget that I think the president as administration want to move the focus also concerning democracy onto June 12, and which is just about 2 weeks ago away. So let's wait and see. That will be my position. However, personally, I have expected that there will be a little bit of at least droplets of what we should expect. Viewpoints about one or two things should have
just highlighted.
Yes,
just highlighted something.
The expectation is very high,
right.
And the issues at stake are also humongous. That,
all right, Dr. Kerry, I wonder if you were shocked by that, or it was okay. Well, it's just one of those things. Let's move on.
I wasn't shocked, and neither is it okay. But yeah, the man is growing older. Even at the claim of 72, he lamented the issue of age. He has added to it. You don't grow younger, you grow older. So now, but you see, I expected, having told us that this time around, those who have been calling him Baba Go Slow and all of that.
Be shocked.
Yeah, so I was expecting that yesterday was going to be a groundbreaking ceremony. In terms of what he will unfold to Nigerians.
But they said it was going to be low-key, so maybe that's part of what make it
low-key didn't stop the MC from talking.
Yeah.
Low-key didn't stop
low-key in terms of celebration.
Low-key is only in terms of the fanfare that follows.
Conviviality.
It's not about what you have to offer. Yeah, the next one we hear that all the talks about the campaign were not his own. So tell us the one you want to do. But whether he tells us or not, at least Nigerians know that as we speak, Nigeria is insecure. So security is a challenge, and we expect that he will deal with it this time around. But that is an expectation. But the truth is that going by the operation, the modus operandi of the security, Boko Haram, bandits, and the rest of it, I still have my fears whether we can actually fully deal with the issue. That is just on one part of it. Then the question of the various, issues on economy, education,
corruption.
Power. Corruption is not even corruption is not a problem. Okay. It is bad leadership that promotes corruption. Right. If you have good leadership, you'll be able to do. Naturally, corruption is there. If you look at corruption from the point of view of what I will call the conspiracy theory of corruption, practically every human being is, by virtue of the fact that yes, we were made in the image of God, but we were made of dust and the rest of it. And those who sat to say that let's make man in our own image did not use dust to make themselves. So that tells you that your own version of that image is from dust. So there are challenges with that. Right?
So
but societies have always created...
being dust by itself is... there's corruption in the dust.
Of course,
Okay.
Maybe he's referring to the weakness, basically.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, which I agree.
Flesh and blood,
yes,
flesh and blood is
that
in
is
the
what
dust.
brings
Anyhow you want to see
Yeah.
flesh and blood is
that is a natural position.
But the emphasis...
Olakomi, we have a new dispensation now. What would you really expect? Just like other Nigerians, I say, okay, fix power. Others say, fix roads. Okay, give us housing. Different things and all of that. What do you expect in this new dispensation?
Well, without mincing words, I would say, fix security first.
Okay.
Because no economy can thrive in an insecure environment. Okay, even if infrastructures are there, businesses will not be able to do well, because, of insecurity. So fixing, this insecurity problem, that's a primary thing. The other thing is enable our people to be able to do businesses on their own and fix power. Resolve this issue of power. Put in place infrastructures, make our roads to be good. We need enabling infrastructures. First for the homegrown industries, even before talking about FDIs. Then when FDIs now see that, okay, there is security, there is low cost of doing business here because infrastructures are there, then they can begin to think of coming back to Nigeria. In terms of FDI, we've lost a whole lot, in the last, 4 years or so. And I'm saying that we will still lose more if we don't attend to these issues.
All right.
So fix security, fix power, attend to infrastructure.
Okay, we have to leave you here now. Olakomi Amo Onidundu, thank you so much for coming on the program. Dr. Danikere, thank you very much.
It's always a pleasure.
Thank you for making us understand that flesh and blood is weak and corrupt.
I have in the studio a lecturer at the University of Lagos, Dr. Danikere, and a social commentator, Olakomi Amo Onidundu. I hope I got it this time. Gentlemen, thank you for coming on TVC Breakfast.
Thank you.
All right,
so
let's
much.
head straight to the papers now. And I start with the Daily Trust. High expectations as Buhari begins second term. President off to Saudi Arabia, absent at inaugural dinner. Bauchi Gombe governors cancel last-minute appointments. I will move to the Nation. Buhari governors take oath amid hope for better days. Sanwo-Olu, Makinde, Abdulrazak, Abiodun, others unfold agenda. And to the front page of these day newspapers, Muhammadu Buhari's warning for second term with high hopes. 29 governors take oath of office in low-key ceremonies. 91 world leaders to attend June the 12th Democracy Day event. And on the front page of the blueprint, Nigerians to Buhari fix security, power, unemployment. Gowon graces inauguration, OBJGG others absent. Don't back out on local government autonomy, NULG tells president. Increase revenue base, experts. Implement minimum wage, teachers. President taking us out of economic paralysis, Bulama. And on the front page of the Vanguard, inauguration, Buhari mom as governors reel out promises. Oyo can't pay 30,000 naira minimum wage now. Makinde Abiodun vows to tackle unemployment in Ogun. Al-fulfilled campaign promises. Sanwo-Olu El-Rufai extend the maternity leave to 6 months in Kaduna. I'll build a stronger Delta, Okowa. To the front page of the Daily Sun, Buhari stands all with no speech inauguration, takes oath of office without a usual acceptance speech. President is expected to speak on June the 12th. He, APC, overburdened by guilt. That's the PDP speaking there. And finally, on the front page of the Daily Times, a second tenure, Buhari takes oath of office, keeps mom on agenda. All right, gentlemen, would look at the front page of the blueprint. Many Nigerians were expecting the president to say something. But before the inauguration, the president had an interview where he said that many people that used to call him Baba Go Slow will be surprised this time around. And perhaps that sets the tone for his second term. But for you, what do you make of this? I'll start with you.
Okay.
He's saying that what surprises do you see from the president in his second term?
Well, the surprise was no surprise. And how do I mean that? If at the pre-inauguration interview, you've told us, expect me to spike the guns and go full steam, I expected that at the inauguration, you will have given us some snippets of those things you want to do. So for me, I think we are still in a roller coaster of the go slow. But let's also see what the June 12 thing. It seems June 12 is planned to be a bigger occasion.
It's a bigger celebration where there'll be world leaders.
World leaders and all that.
He wants the world leaders to understand his agenda for the nation.
But I think yes, maybe that is his plan. But I think the best people to sell your agenda to are your countrymen at your inauguration, not to world leaders. I think that should have been first the best stage to set the agenda. But let's wait, as as people have opined, as supporters have opined, that look, June 12th might be the stage where he's planning to do that. But I think he has enough time to have garnered and put together this agenda. He knew very well that look, I am the returning president. He knew very well all the plans he has. So he should have at least given us some inkling, insight into those things he plans to do.
In that interview, he talked about a lot of things, Dr. Kerry, where he talked about ensuring that he's going to ensure, rather, that the police and the judiciary are effective. What are your expectations? Because there are calls for him to fix security.
Yeah, thank you. We all expect the police will be up and doing. We expect all the other, security arms to be up and doing. But how does he intend to do it? How does he intend to fix it? How come he never fixed it all this while? Or has he tried and maybe he's going to improve on that? Is it by way of funding or what? What is he going to do that will be different? Now, he had just told us in an interview that those who thought he was slow, perhaps will be taken aback because what he's going to do this time around will shock people. And at the end of the day, the right opportunity for him to actually, spark off this particular new style, he couldn't show us anything about it. But that's not to say that...
There's still June the 12th.
June 12th is not the inauguration day. June 12th is a commemoration, of a particular, historical moment. But it was the inauguration day that we expected him to tell us what he has. So he should be able to unfold the program he has. But that's not the issue. Whether he unfolds program or not, Nigerians know what they want. Yes. And we know what we are expecting. But whether he will meet that expectation is a different thing altogether. But we want, like some of the papers have already shown, we want issue of security.
That is why I asked, where this issue, making it effective, what would you expect him to do?
Yes. Now, one way of doing it is what so many of the governors have been talking about. It's not just about saying that I'm going to make the police work. How many of them? How do you tend to, to distribute them, to be able to take care of every nook and cranny of Nigeria, where so many of them are securing him and the rest of the politicians? So break it down to states. Let the states begin to have their, their input in terms of security. In fact, you should do a proper restructuring of the federation. Let's just take full charge of so many things that they should. I don't see why the federal government should have a secondary school in Lagos. I don't see why the federal government should be monitoring, should be funding secondary schools. In many of the states, in the name of so-called unity schools, you don't need all of that. At the university level, yes, we could, tolerate that. But those local governments, secondary schools and the rest, then those roads you call federal roads within Surulere, within Yaba, within so many places in the various states, all of that must change. Let's take charge. And that will equally have an implication of, how the finances, are handled. Because you cannot do that without the states taking charge of their resources as well.
Another aspect is the aspect of unemployment, where before the beginning of this new dispensation, there were talks about, the government talked about, having 20 million jobs, providing 20 million jobs in the aspect of, looking at the aspect of agriculture, transportation, construction, as well as services, as those could actually drive the economy. Are those the areas that we should be looking at when it comes to diversification of the economy and driving the economy?
Well, I think yes. In terms of competitive advantage, those are the areas where we have strong competitive advantage to immediately diversify. Likewise, don't forget that these are sectors of economy that also absorb a lot of employment. So if you're looking at sectors where you can quickly absorb a whole lot of the unemployed youth, yes, agri, definitely. Those industries, they are good areas to focus on. And the only thing is, I think we also set this in the first term. I want to see the different thing we would do to make this happen in second term. That's what we, people out there want to see. And we don't want to see this knee-jerk reaction of, short-focused, solutions of, doling out money, in the name of, 10,000, 20,000 palliative and all that. We want something sustainable for people. People want to feel fulfilled, doing something, adding to the economy, and also providing for their own families. And that's where we also need infrastructures to be in place. Okay, a whole lot of people also want to go into those sectors that the government, is looking at, enabling employment. But if infrastructures are not in place, enabling employment are not in place, let us also, like countries like Angola, reduce our own, lending rates to these industries so that they can also, get, these industries going and employ people.
All right, gentlemen, we have to leave it at this point. Thank you for your contribution on the newspaper review.
Thank you. Moving ahead now with the headlines to see what papers are saying in Nigeria today. We have in the studio lecturer from the University of Lagos, Dr. Danekere, as well as social commentator Olakomi Amu Onidundu. Gentlemen, good to have you join us this morning.
Good morning.
Good. Let's begin with the Daily Trust. High expectations as Buhari begins second term. President off to Saudi Arabia, absent at inaugural dinner. Bauchi, Gombe governors cancel last-minute appointments. Okay, that's from the Daily Trust. Let's move now to The Nation. Let's see what the paper is saying. Buhari governors take oath amid hope for better days. Sanwo-Olu, Makinde, Abdulrazak, Abiodun, others unfold agenda. That's on the front page of The Nation newspaper. From The Nation, let's go now to This Day. This Day is saying Muhammadu Buhari is sworn in for second term with high hopes. 29 governors take oath of office in low-key ceremonies, and 91 world leaders to attend June 12 Democracy Day event. That's on the front page of This Day. Let's move now to The Blueprint, and that is saying Nigerians to Buhari, fix security, power, unemployment. Gowon graces inauguration, Obasanjo and Goodluck Jonathan and others absent. Don't back out on local government autonomy, Noge tells president, and increase revenue base. Experts are saying that, and implement minimum wage. Teachers are saying that, and president taking us out of economic paralysis. Bulama is quoted to have said that. Okay, from The Blueprint, let's go to the Vanguard now. On inauguration, Buhari mom, as governors reel out promises. Oyo can't pay 30,000 naira minimum wage now. Makinde, the new governor, is saying that. And Abiodun vows to tackle unemployment in Ogun State. I'll fulfill campaign promises, Sanwo-Olu says in Lagos. And El Rufai extends maternity leave to 6 months in Kaduna. And I'll build a stronger Delta, says Ifeanyi Okowa of Delta State. Okay, from the Vanguard, let's go to the Daily Sun. Buhari stuns all with no speech inauguration. takes oath of office without usual acceptance speech. The president expected to speak on June 12. He, an APC overburdened by guilt, as the PDP is saying that. Daily Times is the last paper we'll look at this morning. Second tenure. Buhari takes oath of office, keeps mob on agenda, and it's sign of insensitivity to plight of Nigerians. PDP is quoted as saying that. Now, gentlemen, I was asking one of my guests earlier on, and I was saying that if we look back from the days of independence, and the Second Republic and Third Republic, and even until now, the same campaign points and promises made by politicians at that time are still the same campaigns now. Issues of roads, issues of infrastructure, housing, power, health, education, they're still the same thing. Other countries are moving to science, technology, inventions, and all of that. Let me start. Who do I start with now? Dr. Kere. Let me start with you, Dr. Kere, on this. Now, you've been working with a lot of young people, especially when it comes to the university, churning out graduates and looking forward to a greater Nigeria. How far away from achieving the real Nigerian goal are we?
Well, thank you. Yeah, it looks like we are very far away from it, even when what we are talking about is so close. The challenge has always been that of leadership. You know, and just like Chinua Achebe said, the problem with Nigeria is leadership, and truly it is. You know, when you have the kind of leadership that has that kind of focus, chances are that you get there, you know, earlier. But at the moment, we seem not to be on that track. You know, we grew up in the same scenario. You keep seeing bad roads. You know, I mean, I've been applying that Benin, you know, Shagamu, Lagos road for quite a while now. There hasn't been any year that road is fully, in order. There will always be a segment of it.
More than the past 25 years,
it has always
there has
been
always been constant construction on that road.
So that's the challenge you find. So you could see that those issues are always there. The issue of housing, the same thing. Now, the worst of it now is even the one of insecurity and power. All right, you are talking about unemployment and you want the youth engaged, and yet there is no power. Now, even the area of agriculture that we're talking about, all we are doing is anchor borrowers and give money to farmers by way of, you know, promoting subsistence farming, not even mechanized farming, the way it is going. So at the end of the day, those issues will be, you know, from this government, they will be transmitted to the next government. So how are we so sure that the one that is coming in will be the time? So it has been a leadership challenge. And the attitude of Nigerians have been contributing factors.
Okay.
Because you will see options, particularly in this last election. All right? We saw options, but we seem to be, you know, in a particular route.
Nigerians always have an interest.
Yes,
everyone will have an interest.
It must be within these two big parties.
So they choose based on the interest.
Exactly. So the lamentations are there, but yeah, we are part of it as well.
Like, I mean, the point there is, the irony of it is, the leaders we have, whether it's from 1999 until now, are people who were there when Nigeria worked in the 70s, in the 60s, when Nigeria had a semblance of the future prospects and all of that. They are the ones who understand the vision of the founding fathers. Sometimes, in fact, some of them worked shoulder to shoulder with some of these people. They understand their agenda and so on. And here we are. How challenging is it that the people who really even understand the DNA of Nigeria are the ones finding it difficult to translate into the prosperity everyone is looking forward to?
Well, it's not as challenging as, you know, it's put to, you know, the public and all that. It's just a matter of priority, focus, and selflessness. You know, we don't have altruistic leaders anymore. Okay, you know, we don't have utilitarian leaders anymore. We have, you know, more of, you know, people who are driven by ego, driven by, you know, personal agenda. That's the problem we have. You know, and look, particularly, this is an opportunity also for Buhari to redefine issues and all that. And that's why, for me, you know, strategic leaders also set agenda by clear communication. What we want to achieve. Okay, this is a grand opportunity to redress whatever are the gaps. in the next 4 years. And that's why we need a clarity in terms of where Nigeria should go. Not in terms of sustainable things that can create structures. Don't forget, every good strategy is destroyed by a wrong structure. If there are no enabling structures, no good strategy will happen. And that's why we're asking for good structures, federal structures, good structures in terms of infrastructures and all that.
But the truth is
so
that
they
even
can
the
become the
leaders who
foundation.
led us from independence, really, there was no clear agenda of development. We were only interested in liberation, truly. We just wanted to be the ones in position of just to hold the office, not necessarily the ones driving. But we just want to be.
So there was a common enemy, so to say, at that time.
So what we need is a clear
agenda.
We need to
get the common enemy and let us.
We need a clear agenda.
Build on the agendas
definition of the development drive.
All right. We hope that the president and all the governors and all those who are in charge will come up with something new for Nigeria.
They have not shown any sign of it.
All right, but let's give them the benefit of the doubt. Dr. Danekere, thank you so much for coming on the program.
Thank you.
And Alakomi Onitundu, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Team TVC Breakfast. The recent report that a high percentage of Nigerian firstborn children belong to men other than the person they call their father has been described as worrisome.
This made DNA tests become a frequently debated topic. Senior correspondent Ivy Kanu put together this report on DNA testing and its acceptance in Nigeria.
The above revelation kick-started the conversation on DNA testing, with some describing the claim as exaggeration. However, the social media has been agog with arguments for and against DNA testing, especially paternity. The statement has also given rise to conversations on how respected the marriage institution is.
Usually, I don't think you should actually want to do it, but the moment you begin to feel your spouse is sleeping around and you want to secure the future of your children, you want to protect them, it's important you know if they are truly your child.
Wow, that one is it's very broad because I think that has to do with trust. That has to do with trust because I don't see any reason why you'll be in a marital relationship with somebody and you're still trying to run a DNA test.
From a legal perspective, I feel DNA test is very, very important because it solves a lot of issues without having to argue, go back and forth, blame it on another person or a heritage.
DNA testing is a basic requirement for families before obtaining traveling documents for their children. Johnson, not his real name, and has been living in the United States for 15 years, was a victim.
I was doing relatively well in Nigeria but needed to secure a future for my children, and I assumed that relocating would do that for me, and the process began. At some point, paternity test was needed, and lo and behold, the unimaginable happened. The result came out, and my world was shattered. It turned out only one of the 4 kids was my child.
Chief Medical Director, DNA Center, was away on vacation. He, however, obliged us with some vital information over the phone. According to the forensic geneticist, the center has carried out over 1,000 tests since it was commissioned, with paternity inquiries making up to 65%. In our quest to get more answers, we also made a stop at Lagos State DNA and Forensic Center to get some of those answers like paternity test, how it's done, and also, the influx of people into the center.
This is the camera. And so, of course, every item of evidence that we receive, we have to take photos of them. Okay. And these are buccal swabs, like this.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
So when we receive sample from crime scene, from police officer, or whoever is submitting, so we take the sample into this room to examine. If there is presence of biological material, they are going to fluoresce. Now, this might be suspected from the color that it's semen.
Yes.
So we have a test that will do to confirm it's semen.
Okay.
So when you're done with the test, then you can proceed to DNA analysis and you do your extraction to have your profile.
Parents are expected to consider the emotional and psychological impact on their children. It is also the view of some people that one must not father a child to love a child. Ivy Kano, TVC News, Lagos.
Well, joining me from Ilorin via Skype is a professor of pathology and deputy vice chancellor, research technology and innovation at the University of Ilorin, Professor Mikhail Buhari. Thank you for joining us on TVC Breakfast. Now, is DNA testing the most accurate method or way to go when it comes to determining the paternity of a child?
Absolutely, it is. There were other methodologies, but those ones came with varied results. The one that will give you almost 100% reliability is the DNA testing method, using either PCR or the RLP method.
How does it work?
Well, basically what you're doing is the DNA itself, that's the genetic material that we all carry. And we get this from both parents in equal amount. All the cells in your body will carry the same DNA material. And so what you do is, after you have taken that sample, you're looking at the sequencing, comparing the one from the father with that of the child and see where there's similarity. Like we said, the reporting is actually about a probability of parenting. And so when you see, you test with this, we talk about phenotype, and you now look at 2 locations. Minimum has to be 2 locations. And so that's the minimum that you can, and that will give you where you have a positive result. It could give you about 99.0%. That tells you that this person may be the father, but there could be another 99 people who are the father. Or if you test more than 2 locations, you go to 3 locations, you're now going to rarer territories. And at that point, if you get a positive result, it is likely that that father is the father of that child. If you get a negative result, about 0%, and then you say that that father is not, the alleged father is not the father of that child. So that's the way it works.
All right, now, so how is this growing on Nigerian, seeing that we are looking at our setting here in Nigeria?
Well, we have laboratories, you know, and the sad part is that regulation is not so much in place. We need the regulatory body. In America, the regulatory body is that of Association of American Association of Blood Banks. We need a similar body here that will accredit. We need standardization. People cannot sit in their corner and do their thing. We also need the government to come in. We need to put quality management system in place. As more and more people embrace this, we need to ensure that the results we are turning out are those that can stand the test of time.
All right, Professor Mikhail Buhari, thank you for your time on TVC Breakfast.